The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. Oakland sports, past, present, and future. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and one of the two hosts of the show is Jerry Feitelberg. He's here. Nancy Finley expected shortly. Jerry, how are you?
I'm doing great. I am really feeling well, and looking forward to having Nancy come on the program. And it gives us a little time to talk about the trade that the A's made and some of the...
Yes, they got a little bullpen help and balanced themselves out. And that's one thing you could say about Billy Beane, who basically runs it. Mr. Frost makes the decisions, but I'm sure nothing is final until he sees it. He's always believed in keeping a balance.
I think one of the reasons that Healy became expendable was due to the fact that Chapman is a better fielder at third base and has pop in his bat, and Olson was outstanding at first base, fielding and hitting, and that the Healy was not as good defensively as either one of those two guys. Also,
but he was a good hitter with promise, and it takes something to get something.
Right. So, but he became expendable because they had Chad Pinder backing up, and then they have Franklin Barreto coming up, and they have Marcus Semien at shortstop. So they have pretty well didn't have a place for him other than to DH, and the Brain Trust wants Chris Davis to be the permanent DH or to do more time at DHing, and they're going to put a better fielder out in left field. So that was their thinking, and they wanted to strengthen the bullpen. Now, do I know if they got enough in the trade? I don't know, but they did strengthen the bullpen, and we'll see how it pans out. They also got a 17-year-old player who's 4 or 5 years probably from the big leagues, or they might use him as a trade package.
They also, that shortstop, minor league shortstop, can prove very valuable. One thing about the A's, they've got the scouts out there. They know who's overlooked, which organizations are stacked, and which players may be better off with a change of scenery.
Sure.
The West is a very closed. All these teams know each other so very well that, and you like to see deals where nobody gets screwed. You like to see it be a good deal for both teams so they can come back and help each other again in the future.
Yeah, and the A's made 2 trades with the Mariners last year. They sent Danny Valencia there, and Valencia has got some pop in his bat and plays well when he plays all the time. He's not a great fielder. Yonder Alonso, who is a free agent, probably will not sign with the Mariners. Maybe he will, but I don't think he's going to sign back there with them. Improves his value because he started hitting home runs and he's a better fielder. So Alonso is an attractive target, but I think that the Mariners had chosen Ryan Healy to be their first baseman in case Alonso doesn't come back. I think
it's assumed. I think the way they're looking at it, it's assumed that he won't come back.
Yeah.
And they had to go out and get some insurance, and nothing wrong with that. I would like to see Alonso as a New York Met.
That'd be nice. Yeah, that would help the Mets.
He would help the Mets. The Mets have a young kid coming up, Derek Smith, who they gave him an extended look in August through September, and he showed flashes. He hit like 198, so they can't be all that confident. And I don't know what they're going to do. Alonso, to me, he was very good, emerging with the A's. I was sorry to see him go last year.
Everyone was. He was terrific. He really appreciated it. He came from. It was interesting. They did a nice story on his background, how he came here with his father from Cuba. His father made him work. He went to college on a baseball scholarship, and he worked hard to get where he is. And he appreciated what the A's had done for him. Really, they gave him a chance.
Well, I have an affinity for Cuban players. I can tell you why. My father, when he emigrated, I might have mentioned this before, so I'll bore you a little bit. But he emigrated from Europe before the war to escape tyranny, as it were, and he couldn't get here without going through Cuba. And he spent a considerable amount of time in Cuba. This is obviously pre-Castro, and it's a terrific country. And they brought us Minnie Minoso, and
there were so many. A lot of the Cuban players couldn't make the big leagues because they were black. Going back to Martin Dihigo, probably Louis Tion Sr. These were great stars in Cuba baseball, but they never made it to the United States because of the segregation was in place during the 30s and 40s. It wasn't until
their brother might, but his skin might have been a shade darker or a shade lighter, and that just shows you the craziness of the times. And back then, and we could do another show about the craziness of the times today.
Oh, absolutely.
But, and will sometime, I'm sure. And my favorite A of all time happens to be Campy Campaneris, who...
another Cuban guy.
Another Cuban guy who was a friend of a mutual friend and my camp buddy, the late Dr. Pearson, who was the minor league or the spring training doctor in Mesa for the A's. And they were very tight. And Campy and Dr. P would come up and visit me in Northern California, and he is just a delightful gentleman. That's the best way I can describe Campy. And
I don't know if I told you the story about my buddy Jack Boffin, who lives in San Francisco. Jack's father, Alex, went to Cuba in the 30s, and he was a clothing manufacturer. And he had a shop in Pittsfield. He was from New York, or lived in New York. But Alex was from Poland. And he got everyone, because he had gone to Cuba, he got everyone out of Poland into Cuba prior to World War II. And when Alex Alex turned 100 in 1995. And they had a 100th birthday party for Alex, and all his relatives came. Most of them now living in Monterrey, Mexico, and doing very, very well financially. They came and praised Alex for getting them out of Poland into Cuba. And my buddy Jack had a cousin, Clarissa, and Clarissa was working for the Cuban government. They sent her to Israel to work at the embassy in Tel Aviv. And when she got there, she said, "Thank you, Mr. Castro. I really appreciate you sending me to Israel. I'm going to stay. See you later." And she defected and stayed there.
Oh,
and
wow.
she was at Alex's birthday party. And and Jack has a picture of him on the beach in Havana with his brother and father around 1937, 1938. And Jack was maybe 5 or 6 years old at the time. Wonderful story.
Yes, absolutely. So Cuba was instrumental in saving an awful lot of lives. Our fellow Yidden. So how bad can that be?
It can't be bad at all.
I think I heard Nancy come on, or Mr. Duca. No,
I don't know.
I'm hearing voices. So overall, I think this was a good trade for the A's, and I just wanted to tell you, last week we talked about the very slim, although real possibility that it ain't over until it's over with the Raiders because of that change in bond deals. And, we said it's a long shot, this, that, and the other thing. And when I was later in the week doing a show with Michael Duca on the Giants on this comfortably zoned radio network, he brought up, we were talking about franchises that sort of carpetbagging, if you will, and he brought up the idea that, it really isn't out of the question. His exact words, it ain't over till it's over. He might have quoted that from Yogi or whatever. But so there's something to hold out hope for. And I wonder if they came back hat in hand and talked to the Raiders, powers that be in the city and what have you, about getting things together. They might be more inclined to do it, given the shock of the Raiders leaving Oakland once again.
Well, I think you're correct in that it's a very slim chance. Here you have they're going to spend almost $1 billion on this stadium or more, and the tax bite that they're talking about would be about $3 million a year extra. And I don't think that's enough to put the kibosh on the deal. They'll deal with that somehow, and that's if the law passes. And it's got a long way to go. I think we have someone. There's someone.
Hi.
There's
I thought
Nancy.
It was 3:30. It's 4:30. Hi.
It is 4:30. How are you, Nancy? Nancy Finley, everybody.
Great. Thank you. I want to hear what was being said.
Well, we were talking about you. We said
Sure.
one hot mama from Concord.
Oh.
Or Contra Costa, let's put it that way.
Did you?
Anyway,
yes.
How are you, Nancy, on this rainy day? And I love it when it rains.
I do too. I love it how it smells and just It's I guess it's what they call negative ions.
Well, I was invited to have lunch with my daughter today in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the train from Menlo Park to San Francisco and then Ubered over to the Uber building at 1455 Market Street. Mm-hmm. Her company Square is located inside the building.
Really?
And, and we had a very lovely lunch with two of her coworkers. And I've never seen an office that huge. I worked in a store. And the biggest, I worked in some chain stores, but not as big as this place. And the computers all over the place. And I don't think I saw anyone over the age of 30.
Really?
I was probably the only one in there with. I was the only one in there with gray hair.
Oh my goodness! Oh wow! So it's Uber's headquarters.
Yeah, but I was at Square. Uber is another part of the building. They're on a different side. But this is all young tech people. Square is high tech. Mm-hmm. And I saw the CEO of Square and Twitter, Jack Dorsey, working on a computer. And Jack is wearing a black T-shirt, shorts, and flip-flops. How's that for showing up for work and looking like a CEO?
Nice.
It's a new age of working.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And he was working at a cubicle just like the rest of his staff. And
Did they have animals?
Huh?
Did you see any pets, animals?
No.
Sometimes they can take those.
No.
Nice.
What I'm looking for right now is yesterday I posted, someone posted something on Facebook, and it was a nice picture of Uncle Charlie with about 6 or 7 of the A's from way back when.
I thought you had posted that, Jerry. You forwarded it to me and probably Nancy.
Was that
and it was like nine of the A's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ronnie Wall.
I'd have to see that picture in front of me. obviously, I recognize most of them. There are a couple of guys on the right that I didn't recognize.
Yeah, I got Raleigh Fingers and Joe Rudy and Reggie Jackson. There were eight of the A's, and Uncle Charlie wearing that nice black and white plaid hat that he wore all the time.
I think that picture was on Sports Illustrated cover.
You know what? They named our '74 team of the Century.
Yeah, there's Catfish. He's got his hands on Catfish Hunter, and Bert Campaneris is sitting to Catfish's left. Yeah, it's a great picture, and they all have mustaches except Bert.
Nancy, what we were talking about before you joined us was, in fact, Bert Campaneris and the Cuban connection to baseball.
He is so sweet.
How important it's been, starting with the Washington Senators, the old original Washington Senators, back in the day, getting pitchers like Pasquale and
Pedro Ramos.
You can go back further, given the privilege of experience that you have, Jerry. Remembering those Senators teams of the 50s with Ramos
and Killebrew. Harmon Killebrew was on that team.
Killebrew. He worked with us.
Oh, yeah.
He came out, he was a gentleman, if I recall. He was really a very low-key guy. He did some broadcasting for the A's, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Some TV fill-in.
I saw him in
You know who we haven't talked about, longtime broadcaster in the Bay Area with the A's, is Ray Fosse.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Ray,
Your guys.
The new one.
He was one of your guys. What do you remember about him, Nancy, from those days?
I remember how I remember how nice it was to have him and his wife Carol join the team. That was right before '73, or he took Duncan's place, I think. Or I just
no, Campy. I'm sorry, that's Campaneris, the shortstop, who was with them in Kansas City.
But you mean what was
Fosse?
Oh,
I'm sorry. I
blanked
for a second. We're talking about Ray Fosse now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He came in '73, and what's interesting is that injury we talked about that he had. I mean, my gosh, that didn't matter. He was seen as a good player, lots of potential, and look, I mean, he went through '73, '74 with us, and his wife Carol is such a sweetheart.
Nice.
Yeah,
good memory. And he stayed with the team all these many years, and that's he's to be commended.
Really, really nice. I mean, our guys, it was like they could just give each other a look on the field, and they knew what they wanted to do. It was a family. Right.
They had their disputes.
It was a family.
They used to fight in the clubhouse, but not on the field. They were a team on the field.
Exactly.
Right. But they had their differences. But they put it behind them when they went out. And they won those 3 championships.
It was you better not do anything to my brother when you're on the field, or, I mean, they were just rabid about protecting each other.
Oh, yeah.
Until they got.
And interesting that Dave Duncan came up pretty much the same time as Tony La Russa, who was had just a cup of coffee as a player, and they went on to form a bond where Dave Duncan was the pitching coach for all through La Russa's managerial career.
I stay in touch with his daughter. He remarried and had 2 sons after. So,
oh, really?
Yes, he had 2 daughters when he was in Kansas City, and then he brought them to the field in Oakland some of the time, but he was remarried. Then he had his son Shelby. I don't remember the name of the other one. So, but I stay in touch with the oldest daughter.
Very cool. Very
Oh.
cool. So it is like a family.
It is.
You know what's really
I
nice?
propose a reunion, Nancy, that you get everybody together, and we'll get some publicity, and we'll get
and you could have
current days.
You could have Ray Fosse do the emceeing.
Wouldn't that be terrific? Or the voice of God, Mr. Steele.
Oh, you voice Steele.
It's funny.
I've got the. I don't have it, but I do remember. I got the Roy Steele bobblehead. But one of the nice thrills in my life in the honor, when I threw out the first pitch the night the A's went for 20 wins, I was introduced by Roy Steele, and that still gives me chills.
I remember.
Oh, I can imagine.
You know, he worked for Marine World too when it was in Foster City. Because he left us. He wasn't with us the whole time, but it's interesting because to be able to do what he did, you have to have a special voice.
Absolutely.
And I always think, how do we find people to replace it with the same voice? So we did.
Well, ironically, the Giants did a kind of a cattle call that I was included in to be their public address announcer.
Really?
And they ended up hiring Sherry Davis, who years later became a good pal of mine, and she beat me out for that job. I thought that would be the ideal job to be a radio host?
Did she have a radio show?
No. This was the first woman public address announcer.
I don't think I've heard that voice.
Yeah. Oh, Sherry? Sherry was the first female to do announcing at a stadium.
Yeah, I've had her as a guest on the airwaves, and she's a terrific
she was
woman.
Replaced by Rennell.
Yes, I think Rennell had a radio show.
Oh, that's who I'm thinking of.
Can we go back to Ray Fosse for a minute?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Over the last few years, when I was with the club, I would see Ray occasionally, say hello, that type of thing. But over the last couple of years, I've talked to him more and more. And the guy is, one of the great joys is just to listen to his baseball knowledge. Oh. He amazes me. And I guess because he's an old school catcher. He's one of these guys, if he were playing today and they said, we're going to sit you down because you're catching the night before, he'd look at him and say, you're out of your mind. I'm here to catch.
Yes.
I don't have to take a day off. I'm here to play.
Exactly. I know.
And he's not in favor of the new slide rule. He said, that's not the way I was taught how to play baseball. I block the plate, and no one's going to get through me.
I don't get why they don't have these. Why don't they have these players come in to MLB and have a say in these rules or how it should be done?
The owners got so much money tied up into them, they don't want to see what happens to anyone like what happened to Buster Posey, where he had his ankle broken on that home plate collision.
Well,
excuse me, that's my phone in the background that I can't turn off.
Not mine.
It was mine.
That was, the Posey thing though. That happens, but it's too bad that the owners look at it like, oh, we need to be careful, because I think players are adult enough to know what they can handle, and if they can't, okay. But they just they seem to be coddled a lot.
Yeah,
well, let me tell you about the career of Fosse. When he was with Cleveland, he was such an up-and-coming catcher before Rose plowed into him in the All-Star game and really destroyed his shoulder, that he was on a par with Johnny Bench. Do you remember that, Jerry? Yes. How they were both came up around the same time, and they were superstars in their respective leagues.
I have a picture of Bench in the '72 World Series. He was born looking like he should be in the Hall of Fame. That's not fair. He was born that way. That's not fair.
Well, he might get in as a broadcaster. That would be nice.
Well, he just has always had that look. But Yeah, I can tell that's him from these photos. Oh, yeah, that's Finch. And then I have one.
A lot of times I bump into him after the game, and let's say a pitcher had a good game.
Mm-hmm.
He'll tell me, he says, yeah, he had his two-seamer going, his four-seamer. He had his, he knows exactly what the guy is throwing from where he's sitting. You know, to me, I'm sitting up there, the ball comes in, looks like it's coming in straight, and I have to look at something to tell me what it was. But he knows from the way the pitcher's throwing, and I bet you he can tell you if a pitcher's tipping his pitches or doing something that he shouldn't be doing. And
he could be a scout.
even with,
yeah.
Absolutely. Not just a scout, a coach. And a lot of times, or maybe even a manager, a lot of times, or at least a number of times, teams have gone to their broadcasting crew.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Coleman comes to mind with San Diego.
It's a good idea.
And might not be such a bad idea to bring a man with that kind of knowledge onto the field.
You know who was a broadcaster that was a coach? Was Chick Hearn. Chick Hearn was the broadcaster. Yeah, for the Lakers. He not only was he a broadcaster, but he was a coach with the Lakers, and he could sit up on that press box and he could see what the players were doing wrong, and he was very valuable to that team for many, many years.
As an assistant coach, in other words.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, I didn't know that, and I'm fascinated by Chick Hearn because just as he's a broadcasting great, and sometimes my radio would pick him up, and he had these great expressions. Faked them out of the popcorn machine.
Right.
That's an example.
Oh.
Yeah, he coined the expression the dribble drive.
Oh yes. And Fall Back Baby for Jim Barnett. I remember listening to him when not Jim Barnett, the other Barnett.
Dick Barnett.
Dick Barnett.
You reminded me of when we had Harvey.
Wasn't it Dick Barnett who played for the Knicks?
Later on, he did. That was the one. As a matter of fact, Jim Barnett played for the Knicks a little bit also.
Jim Barnett broke in with the Celtics. He broke in.
Yes,
he was
did.
from the University of Oregon. Broke in with the Celtics. And when I met Barnett the first time, I said, "I saw you play with the Celtics." He said, "No, you didn't." Because he sat on the bench.
What do you think of those basketball players in China who did that shoplifting?
Well, Red Auerbach, when Red Auerbach had a rookie or draft pick, you know, the Celtics used to, and you got to remember there were only 8 teams in the NBA in those days, so they were going to pick 8th, and if they got a number 8 pick, the rookie stayed on the bench for the whole team and learned by osmosis what the team was doing, and then they started to play in the second year. And
let me tell you, the guy he beat out because he was the number 1 draft choice was a fella that I grew up with and went to the Y with when I was 10 in the Flushing Y. His name, oh my God, I blank on his name right now. He's the all-time leading rebounder at Rhode Island, and he was the last cut on that Celtic team when Barnett was the first draft choice. And the fact that I'm blanking on his name means that I'm experiencing a senior moment.
Well, you're very excited about it. That can happen. You're just very excited.
Artie Stevenson went
there
to
was a
high
guy
school.
by the name of Ernie Grunfeld. Is that who you're thinking of?
No, it's Artie Stevenson that I'm thinking of. Ernie Grunfeld was with Maryland, and he teamed up with somebody else for the Ernie and Bernie show. Bernard King.
Oh, I remember Bernie King played for the Warriors.
Absolutely.
Oh my
hell
God.
of a shooter, Bernie King.
Jerry, did you get the?
And he played for the Knicks. Excuse me, Nancy, take it.
No, Jerry, did you get my envelope?
No.
Okay, you mentioned Bernie King, and it's like some of the stuff I sent you, Ralph. I found a Perry Phillips column saying Happy Holidays to everyone, and it has the Raiders' names, the staff. And I remember these people, but then when you get to the Oakland A's, it has like 5 names. 5 names. But it's fun to look at the names. I remember that Bernie King there listed.
Bernard King.
Yeah, you'll have to look at. Yeah, it's the Alameda mailbox address.
Yeah, you've kept a lot of stuff, Nancy.
If you mailed it to my house, I haven't been home, and I don't know when I'm going to be home.
I figured, yeah. I thought, well, he'll get it when
I'll be home next Wednesday.
Okay.
Not that I'm in person.
It's there with the tax bill for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're on my desk. I got to write the checks.
Yeah. Yeah. But
who doesn't? Dad saved all that stuff. And then I found something in Perry Phillips' column about how Harry Carey, when he was our announcer for a year, and how Dad took him out on the town here for a weekend. That was fun. Right.
Did you get to meet
Bob? Did the A's have Bob? Not Bob Rush. There was a Rush that they had as a...
Yes, I remember him. I can't pronounce one of his. There was another name he had. He was toward the late 70s.
Right. Exactly. And I think Jimmy Pearsall was out here announcing as a color man, and there was an LP album of that they put together, that the A's put together.
73?
No, it was after that when Pearsall came out, and I think Rush and Pearsall put it together. I had the album at one time, and it disappeared for one reason or another.
Oh, no. I found something that some company did out of Tennessee. We had nothing to do with it, and it's a song about Charlie O. the Mule.
Really?
Oh, really?
Nice.
Yeah, it's like Bill-in Records.
That has to be a collector's item.
I know. I don't have the actual, whatever it is, LP. I have the one from our theme song, but not this one. And I remember thinking, someone wrote a song about it, and it had nothing to do with us?
Nancy, you may go on YouTube and browse, just type in names and what have you, and see what's out there.
Oh, it scares me. It scares me. Someone found something with Dad's name, and it wasn't Dad. It's not
really?
Dad. It fell on eBay. So,
wow.
I should authenticate. I should be asked to authenticate some of this. By the way, I was asked to authenticate something about Charlie's football. You knew he went into football after the A's, right?
I knew he went into hockey. I didn't know he went into football.
Yes, well, the hockey team was sold, basketball sold, but in the mid-80s, he wanted to start a football league, but then he decided he invented a football with yellow stripes from corner to corner, of course, color again, and it had inverted bumps, if I'm saying that right, and it had benefits, and he had high school teams using it. And he would send Dad all these articles. He wanted Dad to go into it with him. And I have 2 of the footballs. I have articles about those footballs. And someone in Vegas bought one and asked me if what he was told was correct. So I was able to go in and look at all the stuff he sent us and tell them more about the football than they were told at Vegas.
How cool!
Well, what kind of league would it have been? In the mid '80s, you had the U.S. Football League.
I have a sweatshirt.
What was it? Was it the New Jersey Generals? Was that the one that Trump owned, Ralph?
I don't know. That escapes me.
You don't remember?
No, it didn't have a particular state name on it. It was a league. He wanted to start a league, and he also gave me a cap. he was traveling everywhere promoting it, like with Rotary clubs, football teams. But it was good that he was starting at the high school level. He would give them a football. They would try it. They would send a letter telling him their experience. So I have those. And he was starting in the Midwest, of course, in the Chicago area. So let me see if I can find it.
Nancy, you ought to have a museum going.
Oh, I know. I'm just skeptical. Oh, here it is. I worry about the security. Okay, here it is. I found it. It has a football picture. Okay, it's. Okay. I'm opening this.
Okay.
Now I have another bag. Hold on. Okay.
All right, we should play some music for Phil.
I could get lost.
You want me to sing?
Wait. I have it. Wait a minute. It says IF like Finley L, and it says International Football League. Yeah, it has an American flag, Canadian flag, and a British flag.
Oh, very interesting.
Red, white, and blue.
That is very interesting. Because years later, the NFL is about to expand to Europe. I'm sure that's on.
Oh yeah, they want to go to London.
That's what Wow, it has the British flag, Canada, and America.
Wow.
Interesting.
That presents Mr. Finley as an entrepreneur and a visionary in a new light, in a new sport. Wow, we've scooped the world in Finleyisms tonight.
Well, I got all this stuff because he would send it to Dad, wanting Dad to do the same thing with him.
Right.
And and Dad was holding off because actually the truth is Dad was having fun babysitting my kids. My son.
That bad.
Yeah. But what I'll do is I'll make a copy of the article I have for football and send it to you.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, both of you, this has been terrific. We had a nice show tonight, and it was a good day for the A's. They balanced their roster a little bit. We talked about that earlier before you joined us, Nancy. And overall, I enjoy your company, both of you.
Thank you. I do too.
You.
I do. I think the same about you too.
Good. We'll do it again next week. We have floating times, it seems like, but we seem to get it together with not much problem.
And the game of the week in the NBA is about to start. The Golden State Warriors are in Boston to meet the Celtics. Celtics have won 13 in a row. The Warriors 7 in a row. So some streak is going to be snapped tonight. Should be an interesting game. Should be a fun game.
Yes.
You know, they got off to a rocky start a couple of weeks ago, and you called it beautifully. You said, just wait, they'll win their 60 games, not to worry.
Oh, yeah.
And they're rather for 60.
I'll have it on.
You want to go into the playoffs playing your best basketball. It doesn't matter, as long as you win your division and have home court. It doesn't matter if you lose 15, 16, whatever number of games you lose. You just want to have that advantage and be the best in your division. And right now, I think the Warriors are going to be the best in the Western Division. And at the moment, the Celtics are the best in the Eastern Division. I don't know if Cleveland can get its act together, but we'll see what happens.
Should be a nice game. Let's put it on, ladies.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have
way to go.
Together.
All right. Hang in there, everybody. We'll be back next week. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. Oakland Sports, past, present, future. If you like our offerings, please accumulate lightly used children's books, put them in a carton, bring them down to the Head Start program wherever you live, and make a difference in kids' lives. Get them reading, ready for school, all those good stuff that we can do to help the world. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back next week.
Thank you.
Adios.
Okay. Thank you, Ralph. Bye now. Okay. We'll watch a little bit of the game, get some little notes. one other thing I gotta flush the toilet. Valuable, fine. This will be
The rare quality jump from college to NBA coach is not done that easily. They put a job on 53 games last night. They should have won 8, and they did get to the game. Shot off the three. Communicate that better. Maybe you get the only one serving. The 5-3. On the cover for Tyko. I asked you before we kicked it. I said, differently, you didn't shoot that well. He said, it's just not my work. Financing without a bonus cash if you can flat about it.
Live stream your favorite sport at the airport. This DVR show while painting your toes. On-demand laughs during long bubble baths. TV on every screen is awesome. The Xfinity Stream app. All your TV at home. The most convenient, your entire DVR, top network, and live sports on the go.
72 months plus $1,000 bonus cash and no payments for 90 days for the 2017 Jeep Cherokee. Or finance is at $7,000 with total cash allowance on the 2017 Jeep Cherokee. And since got tickets to the game, how big is tickets? Tickets.com? The game is so now. The games are never. I only tickets.com. Never? Yep, and we never say. That's the game. Always available, always 100% updated. NBAtickets.com, the official ticket marketplace. Order stuff is underway. Like he knew he was going to get the content, but didn't know how hard it was going to be. So really start really fast. Because he wants to take care of that side move, but he also knows that he was very physical. Warriors anywhere, any would like to take the word around the go. It's great game. The NBC Sports app. Check it out at NBCSportsBayArea.com. Now, this is where Durant is a little different than the other Warriors do. He realizes that in this match, he's not going to move the ball. He's going to say, I've got a mismatch. I'm going to take advantage. That's the fact no one came over. Now, that was really late. That did not sell the basketball. He was looking for a shot. Someone came over. Someone had it. But otherwise, in part, he didn't find it. Yes, inside that free throw line area. You've been waiting for Marcus Smart to be inserted. Someone that shoots 28% of that is better. Like that is on the board. He can be inserted on the board. California has its share of state symbols. The valley quail, the desert tortoise, the serpentine rock, and of course, yours truly. Thanks, honey. So California should have a state family vehicle. Our vote goes to the Chrysler Pacifica, California's first plug-in hybrid minivan. Put out a tweet. Yo, Rock, peace out. Don't give me that look. No, I wouldn't. Oh, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have an Andy so they can fill out and get more of a chunky nuts. It's got 40% on it, so it's more situation. Situation? You trust me that. We'll fill in, or you fill up. Pick up the Jesse?
You might be sleeping in the wrong bed. Here, heck up in the game at the Dr. Stern Fruitcake Sale. For the first time ever, get free vegetable cakes when you spend just $500 on any mattress. And as always, get our 129 free trials and low price guarantees with any mattress purchase. Hurry in to the Dr. Stern Fruitcake Sale, now until November 27th.
You got $5. You could get $9.9